Welcome to Viral Vibes with Jocelyn, where we expose predators, shine light on darkness, and raise awareness to help protect our children and communities. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and join the Viral Vibes family because awareness saves lives, you guys. It really, really does. So, quick viewer discretion warning. Tonight's discussion may include sensitive topics involving abuse and criminal behavior. This content is for education and awareness purposes only. Here we break down real cases, discuss warning signs, and talk prevention. So grab your tea, drop where you're watching from, and let's get into tonight's case. So we have a really, really good case, you guys. I'm really excited for it. So let's get into it. I don't want to waste nobody's time because it is pretty late. So here we go, you guys. You guys excited? Let's see what we can learn.
A 911 call, 5:47 in the afternoon. A woman's voice trembling, "My daughter isn't breathing." The operator hears something in the background. Music is still playing at full volume. When paramedics burst through the door of the apartment in Exeter, they found a 3-year-old girl on the floor, unresponsive, barely alive. And from the speakers, that same melody continued playing, the hit that millions of children across America had been dancing to that year. But Sophia Acosta would never dance again. This is a documentary investigation into a real story about a girl who asked for help the only way she could, through marks on her body. About a system that received warnings for half a year and ignored every single one. About adults who saw everything and did nothing. This story contains difficult material about failures in child protection, but it's critically important to watch until the end, because the conclusion reveals specific lessons that could save someone's life. And here's the most terrifying part. The last social worker left this apartment just 4 days before Sophia left this world. He saw the girl, spoke with the person who would harm her, checked a box on his report, and walked away. Before we continue, I'm asking you for several things. First, hit the like button right now. It helps the algorithm show this story to more people. Second, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss future investigations. Third, write your city and viewing time in the comments. It shows YouTube that this content matters. And fourth, share this video on social media.
Yes.
Why is this critically important? Because Sophia can no longer tell what happened to her. But we can. And the more people who hear this, the more children might be saved from a similar fate. Every like, every subscription, every comment is a voice saying stories like this should never happen again. Sophia deserves to be remembered. Let's begin. February 2008. Erica is only 17 when she gives birth to Sophia Maria Acosta. Too young, too alone, but she looks at her daughter and understands this is her chance to do everything right. Sophia grows small but full of character, with big dark eyes that seem to read your thoughts. If someone is sad, she walks up and hugs them so tightly, as if afraid to let go. Grandmother Maria will later say she hugged like she knew she didn't have much time. And Sophia is crazy about music. Hears a rhythm on the radio, drops everything and dances, spinning, jumping, waving her arms. This is her language of happiness, her way of telling the world she's alive, she's joyful, she's here. By age 3, she's already dreaming about school, sees older kids with backpacks and begs her mom to buy her one. She imagines sitting at a desk, learning to read, making friends. It seems to her that a whole life stretches ahead. She's wrong. She has just a few months left. But she doesn't know that. For now, she's simply a girl who loves to dance. 2.5 years old. Her parents separate. Erica is left alone. Work, bills, loneliness pressing like a stone on her chest. She needs support, and she finds Christopher Ray cheery. 22 years old, helps around the house, watches Sophia, seems like a lifesaver. Within a month, he's living with them. Sophia, trusting like all children, accepts him and even begins calling him by name with affection. And then neighbors start noticing changes. Music plays louder than before. Sometimes there are shouts. Marks appear on her body. First one, then another, then more. Erica asks where they came from, and Christopher answers calmly. Fell near the table, slipped in the bathroom, bumped into something on the playground. Sophia is only 3 years old. She can't clearly explain what's really happening.
Let me ask you guys this. Why is this such the norm to see? And now I watch hundreds of these cases. I watch them all day long. It is the norm for a mother to meet someone and then start noticing that after she met this gentleman, now her daughter or her son is getting marks on their body, things that didn't take place prior to being with this person. Are we putting the fear of being alone before our children? I don't understand it. This is classic behavior.
Happening behind closed doors, and her silence Erica takes as confirmation. Yes, Mom, I'm just clumsy. Grandmother Maria sees something different. The girl has changed, dances less often, her eyes have developed a wariness. That's how children look when they're waiting for something bad. But Maria doesn't want to seem paranoid, so she stays silent, and this decision will haunt her until her last day. Meanwhile, phones are ringing elsewhere. Someone sees the same thing. Neighbors, acquaintances, and they call the place that should have helped, the Child Protective Services of Tulare County. November 2010. A phone rings at Child Protective Services. The voice of a concerned neighbor. There are marks on the child's body that don't match the parents' explanations. A social worker comes to the apartment, talks with Erica and Christopher, examines Sophia, and writes the standard formulation in the report. Marks consistent with accidental causes, complaint unfounded. The folder closes, the case is considered complete. December 2010. A second call comes in. The child trembles when she sees the man. And again a visit, again the same checklist with boxes to tick. The social worker checks the refrigerator. Food is present. Checks the cleanliness of the home. Everything is in order. Assesses whether there's obvious immediate danger. None detected. Another entry appears in the report. Child's behavior explained by shyness. Case closed again. Folder sent to the archive. January, February, March, the calls don't stop. 3rd, 4th, 5th. Each time brings a new detail, new concern from those watching Sophia from the outside. And each time the result is the same. Another visit, completion of the protocol, check mark in the right box, and moving on to the next case. Every social worker in Tulare County has 45 open cases at once. 45 children who might be in danger. 45 folders that need to be closed by the end of the month, or there will be a reprimand. They don't see Sophia in front of them, a living child with big dark eyes. They see folder number 37 in a list of 45. May 3rd, 2011, the 6th call, the last one, just 4 days before her heart would stop forever. The social worker stands once more at the door of the apartment and once more sees the girl, quiet, guarded. He asks Christopher about a new mark, and Christopher explains as always, the girl bumped into a cabinet door while reaching for a toy. Sounds logical. Children are so clumsy after all.
Okay, what about the grandmothers? What about what the grandma said? The grandmother saw the fear in her eyes, saw she wasn't dancing anymore like she was, didn't have that childlike innocence in her anymore. Why are all these signs ignored? They're just ignored. And no one can speak for our children but us. That's what makes me so frustrated with these type of cases, because we are the adults. We'd rather be safe than sorry. That's all I know. It frustrates me.
The social worker closes his notebook, says goodbye to the family, and leaves the apartment. 4 days later, this same man with whom he just shook hands and calmly spoke will bring Sophia to a critical condition while Justin Bieber's music plays in the background. The system worked according to protocol. Everything was done by instruction. But the protocol doesn't save children. It saves bureaucrats from accountability. And Sophia remains in the apartment with the person who was trusted with her life. May 7th, Saturday. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, but Erica isn't thinking about that. She has errands, needs to go somewhere, do something. She doesn't remember what exactly anymore. Sophia stays with Christopher as always, like dozens of times before. Erica kisses her daughter goodbye. Sophia smiles back. Erica leaves the house at 8 in the morning, not knowing this is the last time she'll see her daughter alive. The apartment settles into an ordinary morning. Sophia eats breakfast at the table, then plays with her toys on the floor. Christopher is somewhere nearby. Everything looks normal. Silence, calm, an ordinary Saturday with no signs of approaching tragedy. And then around noon, Christopher turns on music, explodes from the speakers at full volume. Sophia hears the familiar rhythm and her face instantly brightens with joy. Music, her favorite thing in the world. Christopher tells her, "Let's dance." She nods happily and begins spinning, jumping, moving to the beat. This is pure happiness, what she loves most of all, dancing to music. But what begins next has nothing to do with dancing. Christopher will later call it a game and tell detectives he was just showing the girl moves from television. Mixed martial arts techniques, entertainment, innocent fun. But what he does to a 30-pound child is not a game in any sense. Sophia quickly realizes something has gone wrong. She begins crying and asking him to stop, but the music plays at full volume and her voice drowns in the rhythm that plays again and again. Neighbors behind the wall hear only the song, a popular hit, nothing suspicious. They don't know that behind this cheerful melody are the cries of a little girl pleading for mercy. When it all ends, Sophia lies motionless. She doesn't cry, doesn't move, doesn't breathe normally. Her small body is damaged internally, organs harmed, brain beginning to swell, critical injuries where there should never have been any. And the music still continues playing. The song about innocent love keeps sounding in the room where a child is slipping away. Christopher looks at what he has done, and panic overtakes him. He carries Sophia to the bathroom and tries to help with cold water. Maybe this will work? Maybe she'll wake up? But Sophia doesn't respond to anything. He wraps her motionless body in a towel and carries her to the couch. And waits. An hour passes, then a second, then a third. Christopher understands that if he calls emergency services right now, he'll have to answer very difficult questions, and he has no ready answers. 5 in the afternoon, Erica returns home and sees her daughter unresponsive on the couch. Christopher tells her that Sophia suddenly lost consciousness, possibly fell somewhere and hit her head. Erica grabs her phone and dials 911. 5:47 in the afternoon. The call reaches emergency services. "My daughter isn't breathing." And in the background, music is still audible, plays on repeat, having become the soundtrack to tragedy. Stop for a second. Sophia is still alive. Her heart is still beating. Paramedics are racing toward her right now. But what they'll see when they open the door will make them immediately call the police. If this story has grabbed you, save the video to a playlist and share it with those who need to know this. Write in the comments what you think about a mother who left her daughter with this person. Sophia deserves for her story not to disappear.
Look at those beautiful, beautiful eyes of hers. Wow. It's very sad, man. It really is.
Get ready. It gets even harder from here. 6 minutes. That's how long it takes paramedics to reach the apartment. They open the door and immediately understand this is not an ordinary call. Sophia lies on the floor. Her skin has taken on a grayish tone. Breathing is barely noticeable. One of the paramedics, a veteran with 16 years of experience, will later say that such damage is usually only seen after a car crash at 100 miles per hour. They work quickly. Oxygen mask, chest compressions, attempt to intubate, but something is blocking the airways. Too much where there shouldn't be any. The ambulance races to Kauai Delta Medical Center at maximum speed. Erica sits nearby, holds the hand of her unconscious daughter, and whispers again and again, "Everything will be okay. Everything will be okay." Christopher stayed home, said he would come later. At the hospital, a trauma team is already waiting at the entrance to the emergency department. Sophia is rushed inside, and doctors immediately begin examination. What they discover makes the head physician make a call he hates making most of all, a call to police. Because this is definitely not an accident. Multiple internal damage to organs, critical condition, brain swelling, old and fresh marks all over her body. And something else. Evidence that things had been done to this child that cannot be explained by accident. The head physician has worked in pediatric trauma for 25 years and has seen thousands of cases. But this one, as he'll say later, is one of the worst in his entire career. Sophia is connected to life support systems. Emergency procedures are performed. They fight for every second of her life. But even if they save the body, the brain is already irreversibly damaged. Relatives begin arriving at the hospital. Grandmother Maria runs into the emergency department and cries out, "Where is she? Where is my girl?" They lead them to intensive care. Through the glass, they see a small body entangled in tubes. In that moment, they understand everything. For 4 days, she holds on. 4 days, the machines breathe for her, pump blood through her veins, maintain the appearance of life. Father Obadiah doesn't leave the bedside for a moment. Sings songs, says, "Wake up, princess. Daddy's here. Wake up." But Sophia doesn't wake and doesn't respond. May 10th, doctors conduct a final examination. The electroencephalogram shows a flat line on all channels. Brain function has ceased. She's gone. May 11th, at 2:23 in the afternoon, the family makes the most difficult decision of their lives. The machines are turned off and the room plunges into absolute silence. 4 days, the machines breathe for 25 years and has seen thousands of cases. But this one, as he'll say later, is one of the worst in his entire career. Sophia is connected to life support systems. Emergency procedures are performed. They fight for every second of her life. But even if they save the body, the brain is already irreversibly damaged. Relatives begin arriving at the hospital. Grandmother Maria runs into the emergency department and cries out, "Where is she? Where is my girl?" They lead them to intensive care. Through the glass, they see a small body entangled in tubes. In that moment, they understand.
Grandma didn't fight enough. Grandma did not fight enough for her granddaughter because she saw all the signs. Sometimes we have to, I know it's hard because it's your child and this is your grandchild and you don't want to get your child in trouble, but sometimes we have to make the hard calls to save the only innocent being in this, and that is the child who cannot save herself. So if it ended up being the boyfriend, they would have figured it out. And you know what? And poor Sophia would still be here. This breaks my heart, man.
Understand everything. For 4 days, she holds on. 4 days, the machines breathe for her, pump blood through her veins, maintain the appearance of life. Father Obadiah doesn't leave the bedside for a moment. Reads her fairy tales, sings songs, says, "Wake up, princess.
Where
Daddy's
were you?"
here. Wake up." But Sophia doesn't wake and doesn't respond. May 10th, doctors conduct a final examination. The electroencephalogram shows a flat line on all channels. Brain function has ceased. She's gone. May 11th, at 2:23 in the afternoon, the family makes the most difficult decision of their lives. The machines are turned off and the room plunges into absolute silence. Her heart makes its final beats. Breathing stops completely. 3 years, 3 months, and 6 days. That's all she was given. Grandmother Maria holds her hand and whispers through tears, "Forgive me. Forgive me for not being able to save you." Obadiah sits motionless, staring into space. Erica stands in the corner, her body shaking with soundless sobs. The girl who loved to dance will never hear music again. While Sophia fought for her life in the hospital, detectives were already working in the apartment. They knew from the start this was not an accident. The only question was, who exactly did this? In the child's room, they find evidence on the bedding, in the bathroom on towels. Everything is collected as evidence. And then Christopher Ray Cheery is called in for questioning at the police station. He arrives calm, almost indifferent, sits across from the detective and repeats his version of events. Sophia was playing alone. He heard a dull thud from the next room, went to look. She was lying on the floor. He tried to help as best he could. The detective, a veteran with 20 years of experience investigating crimes against children, knows exactly when he's being lied to. He begins asking questions. simple and specific. What were you doing before that moment? Where exactly was the child? What exactly did you hear? Christopher talks about music, about dancing, about how they were having fun together. The detective clarifies, what kind of dancing exactly? Christopher answers casually, well, I was showing her different moves, like fighting, mixed martial arts techniques from television, just for entertainment. The detective looks him straight in the eyes and slowly asks, do you understand that a 3-year-old child weighing 30 pounds physically cannot withstand what an adult professional fighter can handle? Christopher starts making excuses. I didn't know. I didn't think. It was just a game. But when the detective places medical photographs from the scene in front of him, the expression on his face sharply changes. The questioning continues for several hours straight. His story begins falling apart. He forgets what he said just 5 minutes ago, contradicts himself in details. The detective methodically presses on the contradictions, and the walls of lies fall, one after another. May 11th, the day when Sophia passed, an official arrest warrant is issued. The charge is a serious felony with special circumstances, meaning possible application of the ultimate penalty. Christopher is put in handcuffs right there at the station. He doesn't cry, doesn't say I'm sorry, doesn't even try to explain himself. Just stays silent as he's led to the patrol car. 5 years pass in legal procedures. September 2016, the trial finally begins. 4 weeks of continuous testimony. Medical experts explain to the jury details of damage that cannot be explained by accident. Witnesses talk about marks, shouts, warning signs. Erica takes the witness stand and gives testimony against Christopher. She herself has already received her sentence.
Yes. After the call of 911, I went back upstairs to find Chris in the bathtub with Sophia's body, with water running. And I asked what was he doing. There were times where he choked me out and pushed me against the wall. There was times that he threw picture frames at me. There was times that were just verbally abusive, belittling me, secluding me, making me feel.
Now this really, really pisses me off because he was abusive to her. So why in the world would you allow this man around your child? See, that makes me angry. She should go to prison just as well.
Worthless.
11 years in prison for failing to protect her daughter, for choosing this person, for not seeing the danger in the one she trusted with the most precious thing in her life.
Yes!
The jury goes into deliberation and returns with a verdict. Unanimous decision, guilty
She got 11 years. Not enough, but it's something.
on all counts of the charges. Then begins the penalty phase. The defense asks for mercy, citing the defendant's youth. But the prosecution shows a recording of a phone conversation from jail, where his father advises him to behave modestly and restrained in court, and Christopher responds with crude remarks about her family. No compassion for the child who passed, no remorse, no conscience. The jury recommends applying the ultimate penalty. The judge agrees with their recommendation. Christopher Ray Cherry sits in the condemned unit at San Quentin State Prison. 12 years have passed since the sentence. Appeals still continue in courts of various levels. He continues to refuse to accept full responsibility for what happened. The family no longer speaks his name aloud. For them, this person simply ceased to exist. Erica is released from prison after 11 years. The first place she goes is the Exeter Cemetery, a small headstone with pink flowers. Sophia Acosta, 2008 to 2011. She stands before the grave and cries for 3 hours straight, unable to leave. Then comes every week without exception. Now Erica works as a volunteer at a shelter for those who've experienced domestic mistreatment, helping young mothers recognize dangerous relationships and warning signs. She uses her pain and experience to save other women and children. But every night she sees the same thing. Her daughter's face on that last day and her smile before leaving the house. The family files a major lawsuit against Tyrrell.
Did you guys see those big, beautiful eyes? Boy, that little girl had some beautiful brown eyes.
County, accusing the system of negligence. An independent investigation reveals a systemic catastrophe. Calls from concerned citizens, official visits by social workers, but not one real intervention to protect the child. The county agrees to pretrial settlement and pays the family $3 million in compensation. The director of the Social Services Department resigns under public pressure. In 2013, California authorities adopt a special law named after Sophia, according to which 3 or more complaints about a family in 6 months automatically means transferring the case to a special commission for in-depth investigation. Father Obadiah creates a charitable foundation named after his daughter. Over the past 12 years,
Where was he? Where were you? You weren't there until she was in the hospital.
the foundation has helped save hundreds of children. It finances social worker training, supports help hotlines, gives scholarships to those who experienced mistreatment in childhood. Every February 5th, on her birthday, people gather at her grave and light candles in memory of the girl who loved to dance. Her name has now become part of mandatory training for every new social worker in California. Statistics show real changes. After implementing new protocols, the number of tragic cases in families under social services supervision fell by 30%. Dozens of children are alive today thanks to laws written in the life of one small girl. But grandmother Maria, who lives alone in her house in Exeter, still wakes at night in a cold sweat.
And she should. She should. Because she saw it. She saw it immediately after the mother started dating this goofball. The grandmother saw her eyes didn't twinkle no more. She said it. She wasn't dancing anymore. She didn't have that innocent look anymore. She was seeing scars and bruises on her. Everybody failed Sophia. Everybody failed this baby.
She sees in her dreams the big dark eyes of her granddaughter and hears her voice. Grandma, hug me tight, and each time whispers into the darkness the same words, forgive me for not seeing the danger in time. Sophia should have become a first grader in 2014, should have learned to read her first books, should have danced at prom, should have fallen in love with someone, should have had children of her own. All this future was taken away one Saturday while a song about innocent love played. Her life was short, just 3 years, 3 months, and 6 days. But her story continues changing the world and saving other children. And the system that should have protected Sophia finally learned to see the real warning signs. Only this happened too late for one small girl who loved to dance. How many seconds does it take for a child to disappear forever? 5 minutes of silence. 5 minutes when no one hears laughter, sees movement, feels their presence. 5 minutes that split one September morning in a small Australian town into before and after. 5 minutes that changed 2 families' lives, launched the biggest missing child investigation in New South Wales history, and cost $20 million searching for answers that may have been right in front of everyone from the very beginning. What you're about to hear will forever change your understanding of who can be trusted with what matters most. This isn't just a story about a missing child. It's a story about how the child protection system can create situations where the most vulnerable fall between 2 worlds, and how wealth and respectability can become a shield hiding the truth. Today we'll tell you about a case that remains open, about a little boy whose smiling portrait in a superhero costume became the symbol of one of Australia's greatest mysteries, and about evidence suggesting the answer was nearby from the start. Before we begin this investigation, I want to ask you to become part of the mission. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, share it on social media.
Definitely, we have to get more videos like this out there, you guys. We are their voices. These videos, what they do is They show you guys what to look for. They allow us to be able to learn, to see, to be more vigilant, and to make, hopefully, place in our hearts to stand up for what we know and what we see is wrong. That's what don't think these videos don't help, because they do. They do.
And leave a comment with your city. This isn't just channel support, it's pressure on the system. Every story you hear is the voice of a child who can no longer cry for help. It's a lesson that could save lives. The more people learn how the system can fail, the more children we can protect. The more you spread the truth, the harder it becomes to hide. We are the voice for those who have none, and you're part of this mission. Let's begin uncovering what Australia has tried to hide for 11 years. On June 26, 2011, in Sydney, Australia, a boy was born who from his first days found himself on the front lines of a class war. His biological parents were a young working-class couple with a complicated history and problems they couldn't hide. The New South Wales Department of Family and Community Services already had a file on them before the child was born. Documents recorded what concerned social services, but what happened next would show just how dangerous the system's confidence in its own righteousness can be. In February 2012, when the baby was only 9 months old, the court issued an order to remove the child from the biological family. The decision was based on findings about unsafe conditions for the baby's development.
You guys think that sometimes it's better to leave them with the parents and maybe have more CPS workers coming in on more of like a weekly basis, opposed to pulling them out and then give them to a foster parent and still the inevitable happens? So it's like almost you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
But the parents did what anyone does when they feel they're losing what matters most. They took their son and ran. For 6 weeks, the baby and his parents hid in the grandfather's house in Western Sydney. The biological grandmother would later testify in court that she organized this hiding because she couldn't watch them take her grandson away. A special police unit, Strike Force Duncraig, was created to search for the child. The hunt lasted nearly 2 months until authorities finally found the baby and returned him to state custody. The system won, or at least it seemed that way. In March 2012, the 9-month-old child was placed with foster parents. On paper, everything looked perfect. A wealthy professional couple from Sydney's North Shore, one of the country's most prestigious areas, where homes cost millions and neighbors are doctors, lawyers.
Money doesn't mean anything. Money doesn't. You can have $2 in the bank and give this child the best life ever.
Successful entrepreneurs. After years of unsuccessful fertility treatment, they turned to the foster care system. The woman had political connections and an impeccable reputation. The man ran a successful business. They had resources, stability, and seemingly boundless love to give. On paper, they were ideal candidates, too respectable to question. And this very respectability would become the shield hiding the truth. The foster family was supported by Wesley Mission's Dalmar out-of-home care organization, which coordinated the adaptation process. During the first months, biological parents had the right to see their son twice a month under strict supervision of social workers. Visits lasted 1 to 3 hours. Each time, the baby arrived accompanied by organization representatives, and the biological parents tried to give him all the love they could in that short time. These were painful hours, counting minutes with your own child under the watchful eyes of those who decided you weren't a good enough parent. But over time, something changed, and this change would have tragic consequences. In July 2012, the care contract was transferred to another organization, Young Hope, a Salvation Army service. This was a new program that had just begun operations and was set to care for 130 children during its first 3 years. The boy became one of them. From then on, coordination of his foster family was handled by a different service with different protocols, different procedures, different levels of oversight. This change would become one of the first cracks in the protection system meant to safeguard William.
Look at this beautiful baby. How could anyone hurt a hair on his head? Wow.
The foster parents called the boy William. He grew into an active and cheerful toddler with dark hair and brown eyes. The foster mother would later describe their life as happy, full of adventures and joy. She genuinely loved being his mom. In the house on Sydney's North Shore, it seemed a warm family atmosphere was being created, where William was the center of attention and care. But social services documentation painted a different picture. Records documented growing difficulties, periods of hyperactivity in the boy, episodes of oppositional behavior. Sometimes it took 2 to 3 hours to put him to sleep, though at other times it only took 20 to 30 minutes. Foster parents worked with psychologists and specialists, but most troubling was what the biological mother noticed during those rare contacts, and what the system refused to see. Visit after visit, the biological mother noticed things that made her maternal instincts scream with alarm. Unexplained bruises on the boy's body,
Always.
constant runny nose suggesting neglect, clothing completely inappropriate for the weather. She wrote letter after letter to authorities, begging them to investigate what she was seeing. But who was going to believe a working-class mother who lost custody due to her own problems against a wealthy, respectable couple with an impeccable reputation and political connections? The system had already made its choice, and this choice would prove fatal. By mid-2014, William was 3 years old. He attended daycare, where he made friends with other children. In June that year, the family threw him a birthday party in the backyard of their home. They invited friends from daycare and neighbors. On the surface, everything looked perfect. A happy family, a smiling child, a celebration. The social worker noted that William talked about how much he enjoyed the party, how much fun and games there were. In July and August, the family went on vacation to Bali, the place where they bought the item that would become the symbol of this tragedy. It was there that the foster parents bought William a Spider-Man costume. The red and blue suit with mask became the boy's favorite outfit. He wore it at home, pretended to climb walls like a real superhero, roared like a tiger, and entertained everyone with his imagination. In this costume, he felt invincible, capable of protecting anyone. The irony of this detail burns the soul, a superhero who couldn't save himself. Contact with biological parents continued, though becoming rarer. On August 21st, 2014, the last meeting took place at Chipmunk's Play Center in North Sydney. The visit lasted 2 hours and was organized to make up for a previously canceled meeting when the biological mother was sick. Under supervision of Salvation Army workers and a department representative, the biological parents spent time with their son, not knowing this was their final goodbye. The biological mother would remember this day with painful clarity. William was different, more gentle than usual. He sat in her lap, hugging instead of running and playing like before. Something in his behavior had changed. But what caught her attention most was a bruise under the boy's left eye, a dark mark impossible to ignore. The social worker quickly gave an explanation. It was an accident. William was climbing on the foster father, lost his balance, and fell. A simple, logical explanation that raised no questions. But a mother's heart knew what logic didn't. During this visit, the biological parents gave William new clothes and shoes, everything they could afford. When it was time to say goodbye, the boy hugged and kissed them both. The Salvation Army representative said time was up. This was the last meeting. The biological parents didn't know that in a few weeks their son would be gone, and they would never see him alive again. They also didn't know that the foster parents were already discussing William's official adoption. Without their consent, without their knowledge, forever cutting the boy off from his roots. In early September 2014, the foster family prepared for a trip that would change everything. William had an older sister who was also in this family's care. Both children lived together, forming sibling bonds. The foster father was planning a work trip to the town of Kendal on the mid-north coast of New South Wales, 350 kilometers north of Sydney, a town that would soon become the center of the biggest search in Australian history. The foster grandmother lived in Kendal on Benaroon Drive. It was a quiet area with a few houses directly bordering Kendall State Forest. Dense undergrowth, tall trees, and difficult terrain began literally across the road from the house. A perfect place for a family visit, or a perfect place to hide something. The family decided to combine the foster father's work matters with a visit to grandmother, especially since the foster grandfather had recently died and the woman was lonely. On the evening of September 11th, the family left Sydney. The journey took 4 hours. The children slept most of the way. When they arrived in Kendall late in the evening, grandmother happily greeted her grandchildren. The house was large, with a spacious yard where the children could play. The front of the building faced the quiet street, and the backyard bordered dense forest undergrowth, a detail that would soon become critical to the investigation. The morning of September 12th was calm and cool. Temperature held around 13 degrees Celsius, too cold for a 3-year-old in a light costume. William woke up early, full of energy. He immediately put on his favorite Spider-Man costume. The red and blue suit fit him perfectly. The boy ran around the house, played with his sister, enjoyed the space and freedom. These were his last hours of happiness. Around 9 in the morning, the foster father left for the neighboring town of Lakewood on work business. This detail, the time of his departure and return, would become the subject of intense investigation in the future. 3 remained: the foster mother, grandmother, and 2 children. The women sat on the veranda, watching the children play. William and his sister started a game of hide and seek, running between the front and back yards. Their laughter rang in the morning air. A normal family morning, William's last morning. The foster mother would remember, or claim to remember, how William roared, imitating a tiger, posing for a photo in his superhero costume. He was happy, full of life, full of imagination. It's precisely such a photo that would later become the most famous image of this case. A smiling 3-year-old boy in a Spider-Man costume looking straight at the camera, not knowing this is one of the last images of him alive. This photo would travel all over Australia, become a symbol of the case, and raise questions that still have no official answers. Between 10 o'clock and 10:25 in the morning, the foster mother decided to go inside to make tea. Grandmother remained on the veranda, watching the children who continued their game. 5 minutes, maybe a bit more. The time needed to heat water and prepare a drink. 5 ordinary minutes that would divide life into before and after. When the woman returned outside, she didn't hear the sounds of play. The silence was unexpected, and this detail should alarm you. Usually William was noisy, active, constantly making sounds. A 3-year-old full of energy who never knew how to be quiet. But now it was quiet. Too quiet. The foster mother began looking around. William's sister was in the backyard, but the boy himself wasn't visible. The woman called for him. No answer. She began walking faster around the yard, looking behind bushes, behind garden furniture, checking all the places where a child could hide. The last memory of William, or the last thing the foster mother claims to remember, was the sound of his play. He was imitating a tiger's roar, running toward the side of the house. Then there was silence. The foster mother walked around the house, checked the front yard, the road. Nothing. Grandmother also joined the search. Minutes dragged on, and panic, or what looked like panic, grew. Where could a 3-year-old boy have gone in a few minutes from a monitored yard where adults were nearby? The foster mother looked out at the road. Veneroon Drive was a dead-end street with a small number of houses. Across a dirt road, the forest began. Dense undergrowth, tall trees, impenetrable thickets. If William went there, finding him would be extremely difficult. But why would a 3-year-old child go into an unfamiliar forest alone, leaving a game with his sister? It made no sense. And this absence of logic would become the first crack in the story about abduction. Shortly after, the foster father returned from Lakewood, and this detail, the time of his return and how quickly he appeared, would also become subject to investigation. Learning that William was missing, he began going around to neighbors, knocking on doors, asking if anyone had seen a little boy in a Spider-Man costume. Neighbors came out, joined the search. The territory was searched ever wider, but the boy was nowhere. He had vanished into thin air. At 10:57, The foster mother called the emergency number 000. The operator took the call about a missing child. And this is where the most troubling part of this story begins. The first thought the woman voiced to the dispatcher was simple and certain. Someone took my child. Not he's missing. Not I can't find him. Not maybe he went into the forest. But immediately, taken. How does a person come to such a conclusion in 5 minutes? How does she know it's an abduction when she didn't see anyone? Why weren't there initial doubts, panic, cries of, maybe he just got lost? This call recording would become one of the most analyzed documents in the case, and experts would find many details in it that don't match the story of sudden abduction.
Police emergency, this is Simone.
Yeah, hi. My son is missing. He's 3.5. Sorry.
What's your address?
Benaroon Drive,
Yep.
Kendall.
Okay, Benaroon Drive in Kendall.
Yes,
All right, I'm just going to bring that up on my map. It won't be a moment.
thank you.
How long has he been missing?
I think, we've been looking for him now for about 15 or 20 minutes, but
Okay.
I thought it could be 5, it could be longer, because he was just playing around here. We heard him, and then we heard nothing.
Okay. So what the nearest cross street being Ellendale Crescent, is that right?
So what is it?
Ellendale Crescent?
I don't know. This is my mum's house.
Okay.
Hang on. There's another lady out helping us look for him. I'll see if I can find her. But it's Benaroon, BENAROON.
Yeah, I can see where you are. I'm just wondering. Yeah, so it's Benaroon Drive in Kendall, and I've got your nearest cross street as being Ellendale Crescent.
It could be. I don't know.
Okay. So he's been missing since about 10:30.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, can you describe him to me? How tall? Obviously not very tall. But
No,
approximately
he'd be about 2.5 feet. He's wearing a Spider-Man outfit.
Yeah. What colour hair has he got?
He's got dark sandy-coloured hair. It's short, and he's got really big browny green-coloured eyes.
Is she eerily calm to you guys, or is it just me? I don't hear no urgency in her voice.
Okay. What's he got any shoes on? Do you know any other distinguishing features?
He's got a freckle on the top of his head when you part the hair on the left-hand side.
Yep.
You'll see a freckle on the top of his head.
Okay. All right. Do you know where he might have gone?
We actually live, Mum's property is near a state forest,
Okay.
and they're on huge blocks. We've walked up and down Benaroon Drive, and we can't find him.
Okay. What's his name?
William.
What's William's surname?
Tyrrell, Tyrrell.
Okay. Has he been known to sort of go anywhere?
No, this is the first time.
The first time he's
completely out of
wandered off?
character.
There wasn't anyone suspicious in the area? Any vehicles?
No. Well, not that I'm aware of. I was out there talking with Mum and my other daughter, so,
Okay.
and we heard him roaring around the garden, and then I thought, I haven't heard him. I better go check on him and
Okay. All right.
find him.
We'll send police to see you at Benaroon Drive in Kendall. We'll also
please.
get the message broadcasted to all the cars that people look out for him as well.
Yes,
Okay?
Thanks
All
very
right.
much. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
9 minutes later, at 11:06, the first police officers arrived at the house on Benaroon Drive. One of the biggest searches for a missing child in Australian history began. The machine was launched, but it was already too late if William truly disappeared that morning. 3-year-old William Tyrrell vanished as if dissolved into thin air. The Spider-Man costume that was meant to symbolize superhero strength didn't save him from what happened that morning on Benaroon Drive. During the first hours, dozens of police officers, state emergency service volunteers, and rural fire service joined the search. Helicopters circled over the forest, service dogs sniffed the territory. Neighbors organized their own search groups. By evening, the number of participants exceeded 100 people. They combed through the forest, meter by meter, checked every house in the area, searched ponds and water bodies. Australia mobilized to save a little boy in a superhero costume. But from the very beginning,
trying to figure out what this
Search
is about.
dogs detected something troubling. They could pick up William's scent, but only within the backyard. Beyond its boundaries, the scent was completely lost. This seemed strange. If a 3-year-old child went on their own, even if they wandered through the forest, the dogs should have found at least some trail.
Right.
But there was nothing. No scent on the road. No trail in the forest. Nothing indicating that William left that territory on his own feet.
I don't know what's going on. We not gonna
Police
stop.
began considering the abduction version as primary. But how could this happen in a few minutes when adults were so close? Who could take a child so quickly without leaving any trace? By the end of the day, the search yielded no results. Temperature was dropping. A 3-year-old in a light costume couldn't last long in the cold forest of a September night. Search operations continued all night. Hundreds of people with flashlights called the boy's name. The forest silence gave no answer. When morning came on September 13th, William still hadn't been found, and hope that he would survive the night in the forest began to fade. Before we continue, I want to ask you to do something important. Check out the playlist on the channel with other cases about child protection system failures.
And also, please, you guys, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let's try to get this out as much as possible. Our young people, they need us. They need us. And if we have a platform to expose and to allow people to watch this and see what they can do differently to make, see what this is showing me is like little things that I should be looking for. I don't want to become super, I'm sitting there with a microphone, a magnifying glass, trying to get every little thing. But what I'm saying is, it's showing us how to see different things that we normally wouldn't look for, so, and not to ignore it. Don't ignore it. If nothing's going on, then it's just nothing's going on. Yeah. All right, you guys, let's start it up again.
Checked. $20 million spent. The most expensive investigation in the country's history. And all those years, all those millions were directed the wrong way because the real answer was too respectable to suspect. In 2019, Jocelyn began recording conversations with foster parents without a warrant, desperately trying to find the truth. For this, he was fired. The man who was closest to solving the case was expelled from the investigation, and the case froze for more years. In November 2019, 5 years after William's disappearance, the foster mother did something that changed everything. She beat another child in her care with the wooden spoon, with such force that marks were left. In 2022, she was convicted of this assault. The court officially established this woman is capable of violence against children. And suddenly everything made sense. Bruises.
She was a predator. Oh my gosh. Not the lady with all the money and the connects with the big wigs and all this stuff. Not her. Let's take them away because, their parents, they didn't have a lot of money and he couldn't wear Spider-Man costumes, but he was loved and he wasn't abused.
On William's face, letters from the biological mother with warnings, the boy's strange behavior during the last meeting. Everything formed a mosaic that the system refused to see for years. In January 2022, police conducted a secret interrogation of the foster mother at the Nenslaat's Crime Commission under oath. The recording shows a woman choosing each word very carefully. The most troubling moment, the direct question, "Do you know where William is?" and a long, uncomfortable pause. Too long for someone who could simply say no. In November 2022, police officially changed their theory. They publicly stated William died as a result of an accident on the property and someone hid his body. In June 2023, police recommended charges, perverting the course of justice and interfering with evidence. But to this day, in October 2025, no formal charges have been filed. The case is open. The body hasn't been found. The foster mother lives free, protected by expensive lawyers and the same laws that were meant to protect William. 11 years, $20 million. Thousands of people worked on the investigation. And where are we today? No body, no charges, no justice. The William Tyrrell case revealed the most terrible truth. Sometimes the greatest danger hides behind respectability and wealth. The biological mother warned about bruises. She was ignored. Detective Jubilin suspected the foster family. He was fired. The system spent millions pursuing the innocent, while the real answer was protected by political connections. For 3 years, William's status as a foster child remained secret. The public didn't know about previous concerns, about warning letters, about bruises that were noticed but ignored. This secrecy, created to protect children, became a tool for concealment. The biological parents lost their son twice. First, when the system removed him from their custody, then when he disappeared forever. Today they know that the system that took their son to save him may have put him in even greater danger. If you see signs that a child in care may be in danger, don't stay silent. Bruises need explanations.
What could we have done? What could the government have done? Inside of my YouTube description, I do have places to call, hotlines. If you suspect, it's in my bio, and not my bio, sorry, in my video description for this case and the case prior for both locations. So all I can do is ask you guys to share this video. Let's get this out in the algorithm. We don't want another Sophia. We don't want many more of these children. I think that the more we put it out there, we could probably help lower the numbers. So you guys, I really appreciate you guys sitting here and going through this case with me. It was a very sad case, and I'm sorry, but these type of cases have to be told, and these poor babies. So thank you guys for joining Viral Vibes with Jocelyn. Another live reaction. So like I said, the description holds a lot of phone numbers that you can call if you see different things going on in your neighborhood. The phone numbers are there. It's all anonymous. Make the call. Make the call. Make the call. You guys have a blessed night. Bye-bye.